Okay, so I'm back at Appleyards. It's not actually raining today, or it maybe, I don't know, it feels like it's got potential, but it's very windy, so apologies if there's wind on this video. I know people don't like it. I'll try and reduce it as much as I can. I'll try. But let's just cut to what I'm on today. It's a big bike, it's a Japanese bike, it's a bike that I've not tried before. It's not featured on the channel before, so it's a first. Come on, let's have a look. Now, here it is. So it's Suzuki's VStrom. It's the 800DE. So I've owned the 1050. Love that bike, but it wasn't without its issues. I found it too tall for me. I found it too heavy, if I'm honest. And I'm intrigued. Has the smaller engine, has it affected the power? Has it affected the weight? And is it any taller, shorter? Well, that's the sad thing. Straight off the bat, mine, I'm sure it had a seat height of 850 millimeters. This is 855, so it's taller. It's taller. Now, I'm 5'8". I've got an inseam of 29 inches. So, yes, short. I'm going to throw my leg over and you can see just how I get on. I got rid of my VStrom because I felt it was too tall and too heavy. Let's see how we get on. Throw my leg over. Right. So you can see straight away, balls on my feet job. So pretty much the same as my VStrom that I had. As far as seat position goes, yeah, if you flat foot 1 foot, you can see the pegs are slightly forward, so you are in that position where you are fairly up straight with the back, so it's a good position for your back, typical adventure bike position. And the bars on this, I'm gonna say, are higher up than mine was. I always felt like mine were slightly lower down to this, and I'll show you what I mean when we do the test ride. It's more when you're standing up. When I stood up on my VStrom, I always felt like my hands were really straight and stretched out to reach the bars, whereas on this I'm feeling a little bit of a bend, and it's more comfortable for standing up. So if you're doing a bit of off-road, it's better. It just seems better, this bike. Makes me look forward to the riding bit. That's always my favourite bit. This bike's been out for a while. Every YouTuber and probably the dog have done a YouTube video on this bike. It's the first time I've had an opportunity to ride one, so I'm not going to start throwing loads of specs at you. I'll give you the odd little snippet that I think's important, in particular the seat height of 855 millimeters. Said it already, but you know, just to repeat, because it is a tall bike and it will affect a few people or stop a few people from buying it. Short leg problems, I have them, but anyway, moving past that, I don't want to keep telling everyone how short I am. I'll throw in a few specs as we're going, but I'm not going to throw loads in because, again, everybody's reviewed one of these bikes, and if you haven't seen one of their videos, well, I'd be shocked. And if you have, you don't want me to just repeat and go over stuff. So I'll just go over the key things that I find important. Let's have a look round, shall we? You've seen enough of my face. Let's look at the bike. Now, being the DE model, this gets the extras compared to the standard. I think it's the 800R, I think is the standard one. This being the DE model, it's more expensive because you have things like the spoked wheel. It's got the bigger front wheel on, catering more for the slight off-road use, I would say. It's not got big knobbly tyres on. That's one thing that gets me with this bike initially. I love the look of the bike, I do. I really like the look of the bike. But they've gone for the spoke wheels, give it that off-road look, and yet the tyre choice, it just looks like a road tyre. I wouldn't say it's built for off-road on the tyres that are currently on it. If you were getting one to do a bit of light green laning, that might be something you'd have to change. They have the Nissin brakes, like the gold forks at the front. Typical Euro 5 exhaust, where you've just got this petrol can sized. They just ruin the look of the bikes, don't they? But does it sound good? You'll find out when I start it up shortly. The seat, I've got to say, is really, really comfortable. It is much more comfortable than the 1050 VStrom that I had. It feels to be a little bit more plush, like there's more foam in there. This one does initially feel better. Nice thick grab handle for your rear passenger. Get a top box, get your panniers, tour the world. Chain drive, of course. No centre stand on this one, it's just got the side stand. And it's got the face that Suzuki seem to be putting on all their bikes now. So they've got this like traffic light effect. Much better than the GSX S1000 GT. Always gets me, throwing all those letters and numbers out, it's like a tongue twister for me. Where they had the two mounted side by side, this has got them like that. I just think it's a better look for me, especially if only one light's on. If that light's on and that one's off, it doesn't look like the bulb's out, it just doesn't look like it's turned on. Whereas that touring or sports tourer one, light there, one light on looks like the other one, the bulb's gone. It's just weird. So much better. It has got, I like that. I always think it's a good look for an adventure bike, but these practically are amazing. If you're doing a lot of motorway riding, in particular if you're riding all year round, you do protect yourself from a lot of the wind by when you've got your hand there, so the wind chill is reduced. Much better, especially because this bike doesn't have heated grips. You'd have to pay extra to get something like an Oxford set fitted. They don't come with this bike. Classic Suzuki as far as your controls go. Same as what seems to be on all their bikes at the minute. You've got horn indicators, you've got your flash over here, and then you've just got the mode and this up and down scroll. Right hand side, engine stop start and your hazard lights. 20 litre fuel tank. So that's a decent amount, to be fair. If you're doing a long tour, you want to have a decent sized fuel tank. Only thing left for me to do is to take it for a ride, and this is one that I'm really excited for, just because I've had a previous generation. I've had the 1050 and I just want to see how it compares. Is it better? Is it worse? Now, you've seen the walk round, you've seen how little my legs are for this bike, but it is familiar. It is a familiar position. It's a familiar bike for me, this, so I'm quite happy. I don't feel like it's too big, it just all feels familiar. What I will say is, if you're new to riding, or you are shorter, or you're my kind of height, yeah, short, if you are that kind of height, don't just rush out and buy one of these. Try it first. Ah, yes. It's nice and easy to get off the stand though. For a bike as heavy as this. So it is, it's about 200 and, remember my stats now, I'm sure it's about 230 kilograms wet weight. So it's not a light bike by any stretch. So let's try this first of all. Let's try turning it round. Now these are big bikes, as I've said. They are tall. And as far as turning round goes, the turning circle, as you can see where my arms are, it is quite, well, there's quite a lot there, so it should be nice and easy to turn around. I'm doing it nice and slowly, but you can see it's doable even on your tiptoes. So I like that. That's actually quite a good thing, because I always found that my 1050, albeit it's not the current model, it's the older one, that always felt a bit heavy. Always did. I liked it as a bike, it was brilliant for long tours and stuff, but it always felt a bit heavy, especially at low speed. Fine at high speed, low speed, yeah, every time you were coming to a stop, you had to make sure you got your balance right. Otherwise, You were going down. It feels just better in every way. It doesn't feel quite as heavy and as cumbersome as the 1050 that I had. It does feel much lighter. And seat height, I've got to say, I think they're pretty much the same. So comfort wise, yes, amazing. This does have a quick shifter, up and down gears. You can turn it off. I always find that bizarre, because if you put your clutch lever down, you can use it anyway. So why does it have a button to turn your quick shifter off? Bizarre. But it's in the mode settings. It's all very Suzuki-like as far as the modes go. Unlike the other bikes that I've been on, rain, sport, street, road, this always, well, Suzuki just do it differently. Not worse, not better, just differently. But if you're used to rain, sport, and I love a sport mode, just the sound of it makes you think, oh, it's fast. The rain has started, but let's give it a go. Let's go down a gear. Let's make the most of these platforms. Okay, just going to slow it down because the wind noise gets a bit obscene. Now, I've got to say that power wise, awesome. Speed of that going round. You can tell it's windy. Jesus. Let me do a stand-up test, because that's one thing on my V-Strom, because the bars always felt too low down. It felt like I was stretching for them, but these do feel a little bit higher. And do you know they do? These feel loads higher. Now I'm actually stood up on the bike. These feel like I'm not stretching for the bars. Feels like a much more comfortable place. So that for me would make this much more usable for your off-road and for a bit of standing up. Now, don't get me wrong, the bike is still heavy. So it wouldn't be my go-to bike if I was doing a lot of off-roading. Probably fine for an odd farm track, gravel track, whatever. But because it is heavy, I don't think I would want to do much more than that. Now again, I know there will be people that have been on these bikes that will go, oh, look at me, I can do jumps on mine and I can do all this. Well, that's because you're considerably better at riding than I am. So for somebody like me, I would say, yeah, it's not going to be an extreme off-roader. Probably capable in the right hands, but wouldn't be in mine because of the height and weight. But fine for the odd bit of gravel. Now what I will say is power. Oh, yes, I really like this. This feels so quick, and I never thought I'd be saying that today. Having owned one myself, I never considered it to be a quick bike, or the 1050 I never considered to be a quick bike. It had enough power, but this just feels a bit sprightly, and I really do like it. The quick shifter, if you're not flooring it, if you're just going sedately like that, you first to second, second to third, they feel very clunky, they feel very like jerky. However, when you give it some and you go through the gears, it is smooth as you like, you know, it goes through the gears effortlessly. You don't notice any jerkiness from it at all. It just changes gear like, you know, really smooth. So the quick shifter works if you're getting a bit giddy. It's perfect. If you're riding slowly, sedately, then no, you're just clunking and jerking. I'd probably just use the clutch lever, to be fair, if I was doing that. They retail at £10,499 if I'm not mistaken. Now that makes it, for me, they're not a cheap bike. I mean, they're cheaper than your Honda Africa Twins and things, but they're not cheap. However, Appleyards have got new bikes in there. They are the 2023 model, but obviously they've been registered on the brand new plates, but they've got a massive saving. They're actually selling them for less than £9,000. I think they're £8,999. Now that for me is a massive saving. You're still getting a brand new bike. It's still going to be on the latest plate and everything. It'll be on the logbook as it being a 2023 model, but on a 24 plate. So it will appear as a brand new bike to everybody. However, if there's differences in the 24 model, if there's different styling notes on the model, you know, there might be something slightly changed. It obviously won't have that because it's the 2023 version. But that is a saving of over £1,500. So that's a massive saving on a brand new bike, and making the bike just less than £9,000 for me, it makes it more obtainable, more affordable, and dare I say it, it puts it in the it's a lot of bike for the money bracket. And I would say that at that price point, would I recommend one? Absolutely I would. I really would recommend one. I genuinely am really blown away with how much these have come on since the initial bikes came out. These bikes have just improved massively. The bike I had always felt a bit awkward when you were doing slow speed maneuvering. It felt top heavy. This doesn't. For some reason it feels like lower down. I don't know whether it's because it's got the bigger wheel at the front. I don't know whether it's a change of some kind, but it just feels like a more manageable bike, but same height and everything else. It just feels so much nicer than the version I had, and I don't get that at all. Why is this one so much better? I don't know. Now I know there's a lot of people out there that will say Suzuki all day long, Japanese bike, tried and tested, and I get that. For reliability, for peace of mind, you would go with the Suzuki. It's another adventure bike from Appleyards that I really don't want to give the keys back to, because I've really enjoyed spending my time on this today. It's a beautiful bike to ride. I would highly recommend one. It certainly makes the decision if you were buying an adventure bike much harder, because it's another good bike and it just comes down to personal taste. I just want to keep trying brilliant bikes, and if a crap one or a bad one comes along where I can slate, I'll slate it, but it's not today. This is a beautiful bike, highly recommend it. Catch you guys on the next one. Oh, before I go, I'll put a link to Appleyards in the description, so if you're interested in this. Right, I'm going. Laters.